South Alabama hosting Troy in the battle for the belt as Locked On Sunbelt.
You are Locked On Sunbelt, your daily podcast on the Sunbelt Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, Dave Schultz, back with another edition of Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. Place your first $5 bet and you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. All right, we'll preview South Alabama and Troy here momentarily. So I got about a little bit about Georgia Southern in yesterday's episode, kind of more on the Marshall meltdown, which it was, but it takes two to tango, and Georgia Southern was able to take advantage of it. We need to talk about how improbable that comeback was. And then the preseason Sunbelt Hoops Poll came out. Arkansas State is your preseason favorite, right? They were runners-up last year in the Sunbelt championship game to JMU. All right, so let's talk a little South Alabama and Troy. And this has been a one-sided affair. They have been playing since 2012, and Troy leads it 9-3. And South Alabama hasn't sniffed a victory since 2017. Their closest ball game was 20-6. That was John Summerall's first year. I'm sorry, did I say that wrong? It was 10-6. It was a 10-6 ball game in 2022. Excuse me. And that was a ball game. And this maybe it took me a minute to realize how John Summerall was winning and Troy was winning. We're going to run the ball. We're going to flip the field. And we're going to play defense because you can't score on us. And that was the case. This was not a situation where South Alabama was driving up and down the field and couldn't take advantage of it. They had a play call called back because of holding. They had another ball that was caught but ruled not. And then Carter Bradley overthrew, I think, Devin Voisin on the same play later on. So they really only had a few chances. And it was Gunnar Watson who came into that ball game, actually, and who saved the day. The starter had thrown an interception or two, and Gunnar Watson came in and completed a huge third down, and that allowed Troy to, I think, flip the field and take some more time off the clock. But otherwise, these scores have not been all that close. 28-10 last year. Carter Bradley was hurt for that one, and that was Gio Lopez's first start in college on the road against Troy. Good luck. Actually didn't play that poorly, but obviously that's a tough spot. They lost in Troy. Troy won 31-24 in Troy in 21. In 20, it was 29-0. That would have been the COVID year. And then in 19, that was 37-13 in Troy. 20, that may have been starting QB was hurt for South Alabama. South Alabama's, again, last win was in Troy, as it turns out. In 2017, it was 19-8. Out of all the ball games, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. South Alabama has won a total of one game in Mobile, and that was in 2014, and it was 27-13. All right. This ball game is not like the last few ball games because either one or both teams were pretty good as of recently, right? Troy was Sun Belt champion back-to-back years. In 22, South Alabama won 10 ball games. The reason they did not win 11 was because Troy beat them, and that prevented South Alabama from being Sun Belt champion. So it's been all Troy. This time, though, what are we going to get the South Alabama that we've seen a couple of times, or how are they going to react? They are favored, goodness gracious, by 13.5 points. I saw that on Monday morning, and it was 11.5 points. It's now up to 13.5 points. And the question will be who's starting at quarterback for Troy is, let's see, brain cramp. Is Goose Crowder going to start for Troy? So that'll be the big question. Goose Crowder gives them a chance. With that line, you would think that he is not starting for Troy. South Alabama looking to bounce back. They did not play very well offensively, played pretty well defensively until they decided not to play defense, against Arkansas State last time out. But for South Alabama, is this going to be the team that blew out Northwestern State and App State? Or is it the team, that, struggled with North Texas, lost to Ohio, and then lost to Arkansas State? All right. So a chance for, South Alabama to kind of right the ship. Let's see who they have coming up, because, can they, make a run in the Sun Belt? They are 1-1 in the conference. They host Troy. I mean, they got a little bit of a homestand here. They host Troy on Tuesday. Then 11 days later or so, the following Saturday, they get Monroe at home. That's big, right? And then they host Georgia Southern the week after that. So, they are not leaving. In fact, they've been at home for a month because they were off Saturday, I guess, technically. And then they play. Let's see when the Arkansas State game was. Why do I think that was a different day? It was October 5th. So, they haven't, they've been off. They were off for a week, and they got this game on a Tuesday. So they've been sitting in Mobile, licking their wounds, as the case may be. But there's not a lot of travel. And now they get these 3 ball games at home. There's no reason why they can't turn this season around. It's going to look like a really interesting matchup in a couple of weeks with Monroe going in there with that, amazing defense and improving offense. And, is it a defensive ball game, or, can South Alabama put up some points against Monroe? On the other side of things, it has not been a great season for Troy. And it has been, a season of, trying to turn things around. And, they haven't been, I think a lot of it is, the lack of Goose Crowder. I think Goose gives them a chance to score on a regular basis, and they haven't had that with the backup QBs. They are banged up. We thought it was going to be a struggle from the get-go because of all the turnover on offense. I didn't realize all the turnover on defense, and that's a thing as well. But when you're struggling to score, that defense is going to get tired a lot quicker, So part of Troy's success a couple years ago was we just need 2 or 3 first downs, right? Every first down is about 2 minutes if you're converting on 3rd and short. So if you all of a sudden, if we take off 3.5 minutes or 4 minutes on a possession, that's 2 first downs. We've sort of flipped the field, and we've given our guys a break instead of having a high-flying offense that may be on the field for 30 seconds of game time. You may have some incomplete passes, so you may be on the, you may be off the field longer than that. But that's been the way that Troy has been successful. And now, with a lack of offense, the defense can only do so much. 13.5 points, a lot of points. But I think South Alabama it's been a minute since they've beaten Troy. I'm going to go with the Jags in this one. I have been hot with the picks as of late. 13 is a lot. That's a lot. But I probably go with South Alabama. If I can get that for less than, I should have got it at 11. If I can get it at less than 14, that hook is big. Because now you win with a 2-touchdown victory. And I think South Alabama is going to put up some points against Troy. I'd like to see them be a little bit more consistent in what they do. And I think they should start to run the ball and then let Gio Lopez go at it with a couple of intermediate passes. They seem to try to hit the home run pass a lot. They are pretty successful with it, but not as successful as often as they try it, as the case may be. All right, so we do a little Troy and South Alabama. We'll preview the rest of the action in the week later on. I don't even know. Do we have a? Again, I only look on what's in front of me. We actually have a Marshall, Georgia State Thursday game, and we actually have 4 ball games on Saturday. So we have 6 games to talk about this weekend. Of course, we will get to those later on. All right. Seemed to concentrate. It occurred to me we concentrated a lot on the Marshall meltdown and not the Georgia Southern part. So it takes 2 to tango. You can melt down all you want, but if the other team's not taking it from you, that could still have been a Marshall victory. So we will talk about Georgia Southern's performance, that somehow that miraculous comeback when we come back right after I tell you about Roy. Hey, Sunbelt fans, it's time to recognize the Roy Player of the Week. So far this season, we've pulled over $10,000 to support players on Roy. Micro deposits lead to massive change. With the Roy app, you can direct your support to the athletes you love, ensuring that all funds go to the specific player that you choose. Unlike collectives, you know exactly where your support is going, and you even receive exclusive content like personal video and updates after the season. The best part, it's risk-free. If the athlete transfers or doesn't deliver the content, you get your money back. This week, I'm supporting Ahmad Hardy from ULM. I just pitched in $100, and I'd love for you to join me. Even $10 makes a difference. Let's show Ahmad Hardy, running back from ULM, the love and to keep him connected to our school. Remember, payday, celebrate tomorrow. Your support sets your team up for success. Plus, don't miss out on Roy's exciting giveaway. Win 2 tickets to a game in November. Just download Roy, create an account, and enter referral code LOCKEDON, and you're entered. Already on Roy, any contribution to an athlete's campaign also gets you entered automatically. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited. Download Roy today and join the NIL game with no subscriptions and no fees. Be sure to check us out on Instagram, Facebook, and on X at Roy_. Roy, support the players, change the game. All right, Dave Schultz, Lockdown Sunbelt, your team every day. Again, I apologize, Georgia Southern fans. That was a one-sided recap on Monday because, well, Marshall melted down. Got a bunch of comments. I'm not sure it's all the coach's fault, but there's obviously some responsibility on it. But again, I'm not sure the coach can be responsible for his quarterback fumbling. All right. Meanwhile, let's back it up and look at it from the Georgia Southern point of view, because J.C. French went out at let's see here. Looking where he went out. Still in there in the third quarter. All right, so he came out in the middle of the fourth quarter. And it looked like he got targeting, but I don't think it was targeting. I don't know what they're looking at when that's the case. All right. And so, again, it's 23-11. And Dexter Williams, the second, comes out in the middle of a drive. And Georgia Southern is driving. Right. And so they are actually at midfield. French had gotten 12 yards to the Georgia Southern 49. And it's first. In fact, that was on fourth down. This is 1st and 10. Dexter Williams complete to Bunkley Shelton for 34 yards. Marshall 17, first down. Dexter Williams pass complete to Tyler Frome for 4 yards. Marshall 13. Williams pass complete to Frome for 12 yards, down to the Marshall 1. Dexter Williams passing complete. Dexter Williams run for 1 yard, touchdown, 2-point conversion failed. So he didn't come in when it was 23-3 or even 23-5. He came in. Actually, he did come in when it was 23-5. His touchdown made it 23-11. Okay. Sorry about that. All right. So it's 23-11. And after the touchdown, still not much time to get it going. Marshall goes 3 and out. Then Georgia Southern goes 3 and out. And then Marshall comes up with the first fumble that Georgia Southern punched out. 6 plays later, it's a touchdown. It's a David Mabinga run for 3 yards. You had Mabinga run for 17 yards. Dexter Williams runs for 20 yards. Couple of drop-off passes earlier in the drive. All right. Marshall fumbles again. Now we have a ball game, right? I mean, you're not thinking this is going to happen until it happens. And Dexter Williams led them on the drive again. Pass. Now there's less than 2 minutes. Pass complete to Dalen Cobb for 10 yards. Pass complete to O.J. Arnold for a yard. He actually got sacked for a loss of 8 yards. 3rd down and 17. Dexter Williams pass complete to Bunkley Shelton for 19 yards. By the way, into triple coverage. All right, what a great catch that was. Dexter Williams, pass complete to Dalen Cobb for 10 yards, the Marshall 34. And they do call a timeout. And on 1st and 10 from the 34 with a minute left to go, complete to Derwin Burgess for 34 yards and a touchdown. 2-point conversion failed. All right. Then Marshall throws an interception. What a comeback, right? Like Dexter Williams could have been the Roy player of the game. I understand, or the week. I understand that. We went with Hardy. I don't think anyone can argue with that. But what a job by Georgia Southern. All right. Trying to get Clay Helton. Their schedules are not matching up. Oh, well. But when do you think you're going to win it, right? Like that's the great example. We hear coaches, we're going to play until the final whistle. We're not going to give up. Do you just need the one play? Think how many plays they needed. First of all, they needed the safety, which if we want to blame on the coach, that could be a Charles Huff thing, or at least the player, or at least the coach who called were passing from the end zone play. All right. I'm not sure that's on Charles Huff, but let's not call a pass play from the end zone. All right. So if you want to blame that on the coach, you can. But it all started with intentional grounding from the end zone, getting the safety, and then getting the touchdown. It's still 23-11 with 4 minutes left to go in the game, right? Then they fumble, get another touchdown. It's still a 5-point game with 2 minutes left to go. No holding on Marshall. Maybe he doesn't get as big as run, but if there's no holding, the play stands, the game's over. That's how close the game was to being over. We don't even know what would happen if they don't fumble the second time. Do they kick a field goal and they go up by 8? What happens then? But you didn't have to worry about that. And, Georgia Southern stayed in it. A lot of times you just need, an example of hustle. There was that play, was it the Texas-Oklahoma game where, I don't know what player it was. I think it was Texas. Scored a touchdown, but he fumbled going into the end zone. And a wide receiver who had no business being down there, he's just going down to celebrate the touchdown, lands on the ball in the end zone. Touchdown, Texas. And now that coach, right, Sarkisian can use that as an example of always hustling. Well, now Clay Helton can say, all right, guys, we're down. Takes one play to get it going. Who's going to make the play? Step up and make a play, and we'll be in good shape after that. All right? See what happens. A lot of times when you're down, say you're down 3 scores at half, and you get the ball. You know what it takes to get back in the game? A score, a stop, and a score. Now you're back in the game. Now that other team, that's easier said than done. I understand that. But now the other team that was up is nervous. What was a 3-score game is now a 1-score game with a few minutes left probably in the third quarter, maybe even halfway in the third quarter. So Clay Helton has his deal, and they got a huge ball game coming up. JMU, the East title is probably on the line in that ball game, barring major upset later on. But congratulations to Georgia Southern. Again, I know Mondays was a little bit too focused on the meltdown, and we needed to congratulate Georgia Southern because, again, if you don't convert, the meltdown doesn't matter. Like Marshall would have had to win and move on, but Georgia Southern kept on converted a 4th down. We told you when J.C. French got concussed, and then they converted. Dexter Williams throws a completion on 3rd and 17. All right, great throw, great catch. All right, let's take a timeout. Let's talk a little Sunbelt hoops. All right. They got a preseason poll, and we got first team and preseason player of the year as well. We will do that when we come back after I tell you about FanDuel. Hey, NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. There's no way I'm going to stay this hot. I went 7-2-1. The one was the Cajuns game. And so my 4-team parlay went down to 3-team parlay. The Cajuns pushed. I think the only 2 I lost was James Madison over and Illinois Purdue. Got the Arkansas State game right. Texas State. Got the Cajuns game-ish. right? Didn't get it wrong. Got the ULM game right. Got the Syracuse game right. JMU covered. We're a little bit too hot. Because you get cocky, and that's where it all comes crashing down. So we will try to stay humble. All right, Dave Schultz, Lockdown Sunbelt, your team every day. Sunbelt preseason poll has come out. And again, I don't know how much stock we're going to put into this. I'm not sure the coaches know their own teams. Meanwhile, someone else's team. Having said that, Arkansas State got 12 out of the 14 first place votes. They did get the big transfer in Kobe Julian. He from the Cajuns. He is the preseason player of the year. Wishing Kobe Julian, who's had a Gunnar Watson type career in the Sun Belt. He started at the Cajuns in the 18-19 season. That's when I was still in Lafayette the first time. So it's been a minute. Couple knee surgeries and COVID. So we'll see if he fits in. He's a very good college basketball player. Very good. They play up tempo. The little bit difference is maybe a little bit different. When you get tired there, they'll take you out, right? Like you go all out for 5 minutes or whatever it is, and then we'll give you a breather. I think Kobe got a little tired last year when his shot was not falling, and then trying to go to the hoop, he didn't have his legs. So, wishing him all the best. It is a high-powered offense. It is, what Kobe does best. If he can get that three going and shoot free throws. He's a very good free throw shooter, and that's what Arkansas State likes to do. Shoot threes and go to the hoop. Shoot free throws. That's it. Layups, threes, and free throws. And we'll see how that fits in. They got a whole new class again. Trying to figure out who's on what team is difficult. But Arkansas State is highly rated. Made a nice run to the Sun Belt Championship game last year. JMU was really good. And so Arkansas State is picked to finish first this year. Speaking of JMU, they got a new coach, but they are still picked to finish second. They got one first place vote. Troy is picked to finish third. They got a first place vote, like my guy Scott Cross. Cajuns and Bob Marlin picked fourth. Southern Miss, coach is healthy. He's back, 133 points. He's picked fifth, or they're picked fifth. App State picked sixth. Texas State picked seventh. Georgia Southern picked eighth. ODU actually ties with Georgia Southern, pick eighth. Marshall, 10th. South Alabama, 11th. Georgia State, 12th. Coastal Carolina, 13. ULM, 14. We shall see what happens with ULM. And South Alabama is usually picked low, and they usually find somebody who other teams can't stop. It's very odd what they have. Isaiah Moore a couple of years ago, not 6 foot, doesn't shoot it beyond 5 feet, and yet, he had a turnaround and a little, underneath game, and very tough to cover. Very tough to cover. So we will always keep an eye on Richie Riley's crew. It could be an interesting year for the Sun Belt. Again, the goal is always to get at least 2 teams. To me, that's the goal. Just in case the regular season champion does not make it. You want somebody else to go. And this past year, who was it this past year? Was it App State? I guess it was App State. So App State and JMU were the 2 top teams, but App State lost really early in the conference tournament, maybe to Arkansas State. And the conference tournament is a little bit controversial with the guys who, you've played a game, and it's, you get a little bit of rest, but now you've played a game, you've played on the floor, and we've seen that make a difference, that the other team, it's really interesting. You want all the rest, and you want to, the further you get, the less games you got to win. The further you get in the regular season, the better seeding you get, the less you have to win. But we've seen some teams, South Alabama did it a couple of years ago, got hot, and they made it to the championship game. It is the conference tournament is a little controversial. But my goal and I'm sure Sunbelt team, is to see the regular season champion get there and the tournament champion. If it's two different teams, if it's the same team, say let me. But if it's two teams getting there, I think that would be good. That'd be good for the Sunbelt. It's usually good. It's usually good basketball, right? Sunbelt teams can be tough. Sunbelt teams can be tough. All right. Cajuns gave Tennessee all they wanted to handle. And I know that because Tennessee fans were very complimentary and very nervous in that ball game a couple of years ago. They had a big lead and almost blew it. And then JMU got a win last year. So in the NCAA tournament. So we will see if that can happen. If you can get a Sunbelt team to the second weekend, that would be awesome. But you're trying to get as high a seed as you can. Can you get a 5-12 seed instead of something like, 14, 15, or 16? All right. Thank you so much for tuning in to a Locked On Sunbelt. We'll have a full recap of South Alabama's ball game against Troy, battle for the belt. See if South Alabama can put a notch in their belt. It's been a minute. Thanks so much. We're back up to 1,550. Had a great Monday episode, as one would expect when such a crazy weekend of college football. Appreciate all the support. Please like and share if you see the videos. Thank you so much. I'm your host, Dave Schultz, and you've been watching Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day.